The Edmonton Oilers are in trouble following last night's game where they came out flat and looked like a completely different Oiler team than when we saw in the second, third, and overtime periods of Game 4 as they were came onto, the ice at Rogers Place and the crowd went wild, and then that was the last time Oiler fans were happy last night. All that and more today on Oilers Digest, where we try to break down last night's game, the good, the bad, and the very ugly, although there's not much good, but we will get right into it. But first, we just had 3,400 subscribers on the road to 4,000. So if you haven't hit that button down below, folks, make sure you hit it for any and all Oiler content. Yes, we are coming up very close to the end of the Stanley Cup Finals, one game at a minimum, and then maybe a Game 7 if the Oilers do wake up on Tuesday night. But let's get right into last night's performance with home ice disadvantage. Yes, the Oilers, with a chance to go up 3-2 in the series at Rogers Place, complete opposite of last year, but they just came out flat and lose 5-2 to the Florida Panthers. We'll get into the scoring summary. Brad Marchand continuing to tear up the Edmonton Oilers, making it 1-0 Panthers. And then before the end of the first period, a brutal breakdown in front of the Oiler net leads to a Sam Bennett goal, making it 2-0 Panthers. No scoring during the second period, and we thought during the intermission of the second period, okay, you know what, maybe there is a chance. We all saw the Oilers will wake up in the third period of Game 4, but the Oilers and Panthers trading goals there. Brad Marchand with his second of the game, Connor McDavid with his first of the final, only took him 5 games, and then Sam Reinhart and Eetu Luostarinen put a bow on that, despite Corey Perry trying to, spark some little bit of hope inside of us. But the Oilers just very flat last night from beginning to end. Not a whole lot of energy coming from the team there. They weren't getting in the grill of Bob whatsoever, and they were just playing very, very scared, like they were trying to not make mistakes. But the Oilers, of course, the Panthers smelling blood in the water and capitalizing on those Oiler turnovers there. Matthias Ekholm, who uncharacteristically had a very poor game last night, said, I think we come out flat for most of the series. So that's something. I just think it's a mindset. I think we just have to make sure we get pucks in and try to get pressure on them. And they're a good team for a reason, and they've come out and shown that early in games. We've got to find a way to be better than that at the start, even though Connor McDavid promised before Game 5, yeah, we are going to have a better start, and that better start was not seen at all last night. They started to wake up before the end of the third, but it was too little too late at that point. There you can see the hockey stat chart. Just very poor games from a good chunk of the Oilers. Connor McDavid with his first of the final there, but we haven't seen Connor McDavid go nuclear at all this series. We were all waiting for it. We're all expecting it. So if it's not in Game 6, it probably won't be at all this season there. So a big legacy game on the line here for Connor McDavid, but just the rest of the team, just very flat there. You can see towards the bottom, you would think it was flop the way they've been playing during the playoffs at Ekholm in Wallman, but the entire D-core, aside from maybe a guy like Brett Kulak, again, just very, very shaky there, and it's something like we haven't seen from these Oilers at all during these playoffs. I mean, sure, 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 guys, but the entire D-core looking that bad last night. These are not the very same Oilers that I've been used to seeing over the past couple years there. Just taking a look individually at all the defensive pairs, you can see Ekholm and Wallman, not a very good night until you put Ekholm back with Bouchard there. And then they instantly turned it around. Nurse and Stetcher just pounded there in their 10 minutes and 51 seconds together there. So who knows what to do with Darnell Nurse, because if you can't put Troy Stetcher with him, who can you put next to him there? And as I mentioned there, Brett Kulak, very limited last night there, but still somewhat decent on the analytical side of things. You see him with Bouchard there. It wasn't the greatest there, but Kulak, you put him back with Wallman, and it wasn't too bad after that there. So even more juggling for Kris Knoblauch and Paul Coffey to consider before Game 6 there. I mean, biggest game of the season, and you're still trying to figure out which lineup works there. A little bit scary, but I mean, at this point, what is there to lose? Shots on goal 21-19. Very low event game here for both teams compared to the first 4 games of the series there, where it was nothing but offense all the time. Both teams going 0 on all of their power plays. The Florida Panthers going 0-2, and then the Edmonton Oilers going 0-3 on their power play, which is a big storyline of the series for them so far. I mean, their power play hasn't been able to click consistently at all, so that'll be a very big tell going into Game 6 there. Can they try to figure out something, or maybe they can't? That is a question that remains to be, or an answer that remains to be seen heading into Game 6 down in Florida there. And then the Florida Panthers blocking 17 shots, meanwhile the Oilers blocking 16 there. So again, very low event game for both teams last night, even though the Florida Panthers capitalized many times at 5-on-5. Just taking a look at the expected goals percentage, I mean, this says 1,000 words there. We're all but 3 Florida Panthers above 50% expected goals. Meanwhile, the Oilers all below 50%. So again, just something uncharacteristic from the entire team to come out this flat in this big of a game at this point of the season there. And again, just more stats on top of stats, which showed how awful the Oilers were last night. Only, all night only putting up 3 high danger chances for. Meanwhile, they only limited the Panthers to 9 there, but still, that's 3 times as more high danger chances for the Panthers compared to the Oilers there. And again, just not a whole lot of shot attempts for a desperation game at this point of the season for Edmonton. And another big part here, not getting in the grill of Sergei Bobrovsky, especially in the slot. It was, reported heading into the series, the team that owns the slot will win the series, and the Panthers did exactly that last night. You can see they owned the slot in front of Calvin Pickard. Meanwhile, the Oilers making life very, very easy for Sergei Bobrovsky. And again, just speaking about goalies, it wasn't Cal Pickard's fault last night. I mean, the guy barely got any run support, even though he had a minus 1.89 goals saved above expected. Were there 1 or 2 that, he should have had? Yeah, probably, but that just owed it up to the Oilers to, have better defensive coverage. I mean, there were 2 Panther goals, especially, the first Marchand one and the second Marchand, both Marchand goals where he pretty much undressed both Matthias Ekholm and Jake Wallman there. The Oilers just need to be better on at all facets of the game. But for the Oilers, just their mindset heading into Game 6, and just what they owe to their fans, especially with Kris Knoblauch, with his thoughts on the goaltenders. From what I saw, I think Picks didn't have much chances on those goals. Breakaways, shots through screens, slot shots. There's nothing saying it was a poor performance. But the Oilers, not just goaltending, but just their overall team defensive play. Obviously, it's not the way you draw it up. It's not the way you want to have to play every night, but we're never going to quit on each other, and we're always going to try our hardest to get back in the game. But sometimes it's harder than other nights. We're going to Florida with a job to do, and we're going to do everything we can to do it. Now, is the series over? I've been talking like the series has been over this entire time, but is it going to be very tough for these Oilers, especially knowing what Florida has been through the last 3 years? Absolutely. But I mean, what we've seen from these Oilers in prior years, when their back's against the wall, they can do anything they put their mind to. With back against the wall, we all saw it last year for the Oilers, going through multiple elimination games. And then this year, Game 6 is their first elimination game of the playoffs, or with the chance for them to be eliminated, I should say, with Oilers Panthers Tuesday, June 17th at 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain there on Sportsnet in CBC. And the big question is, who starts Game 6? Will it be Stuart Skinner or Calvin Pickard there? It's pretty much a pick your poison type scenario. In this one, I mean, both haven't had, the strongest stats in this series, but Skinner has the proven track record when it comes to, clutch games, especially through games 4 through 7. Skinner has been the guy there. But again, Calvin Pickard, it was, damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with Kris Knoblauch in starting Cal. I didn't have any problem with it whatsoever. I mean, it would be nice to give Stuart Skinner, a mini reset before Game 6. But again, when you have 2 goalies, that are consistently inconsistent, it doesn't really matter who you throw in there. It's probably going to be the same result each way. But when it comes to, naming starter, Kris Knoblauch says that's a conversation with the staff. Obviously, our goaltending coach, Justin Schwartz, who's been, a villain to the Oiler fan base, but with all the assistants and the GM to kind of weigh in with how everyone feels and what's best moving forward. And it's not an easy decision. We got 2 goalies that have shown that they can play extremely well, win hockey games, and we feel that no matter who we choose, they can win the game. And that's all the Oilers need. They don't need, the fancy saves. They just need a guy that can win the game. But the last time a team came back down 3-2 to win the Stanley Cup was, ironically, Brad Marchand in the Boston Bruins in 2011 there on the road. Or I should say, they were at home for Game 6, beating the Vancouver Canucks 5-2, and then a shutout on the road to win the Cup. But the most recent team to do it in any round, not just the Stanley Cup final, was these Edmonton Oilers last year against the Vancouver Canucks in the conference semifinals. There you can see the NHL playoff odds down 3-2. Only 20.5% have won the series overall, but the odds jump up to a 46.8% chance after winning Game 6 and evening it at 3. I mean, you can't win in 7 if you don't, lose 3 anyways, right? But that is it for today's video. I mean, the Oilers are in trouble, but again, with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the rest of the Oilers, this team is, they will never say die, and that's what I love about this team. Even though, through the hard times, in the good times, this team has a never say die attitude. But let me know down in the comments what your thoughts were about last night's game and your thoughts heading into Game 6. It should be a very interesting one for these Oilers to see how they come out in Game 6, because that's really how it matters. I mean, Game 1, they scored 66 seconds into the series there. Hopefully we can see something like that down in Florida on Tuesday night. But have a great rest of your Sunday, folks. Happy Father's Day to those watching the video there. If you're a father, if you still haven't said Happy Father's Day to your father, do it right now. Do it right now after you watch this video. But enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks. Take care. I'm Matt.